Good evening, everyone. Ooh, if we could take our seats, and we'll get started with our study session this evening. Council study session for November 1st, 2022. We just have one item on our study session. That's a staff presentation to the council on exploring additional partnership opportunities between the town and HD South that benefit the residents of Gilbert through arts and cultural education, including assistance to the HD South Capital Campaign. And it looks like Robert Carmona will be doing the presentation this evening, or at least kicking off the presentation this evening. Thanks, Robert.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much for having me this evening. I hope you had an excellent Halloween and a safe one. I know we did in our neighborhood. So tonight we're coming to you to talk about HD South and a request for additional assistance. I think the presentation is going to come up in just a second. There it is. So just to go over kind of the agenda for today, town council members and staff have been approached with a request from HD South for expanded assistance. Really tonight is a high-level overview and a high-level discussion on seeking direction if council would like us to enter those conversations a little further. So we're not going into as much as potential deal points or things of that nature, but really focusing on the high level of if you'd like this conversation to continue. We'll go over a little bit of the details of the current agreement, and then staff from HD South are here to discuss HD South and a little bit of their capital campaign. So a little bit of history on the current agreement. The town provides about $50,000 a year to HD South. Really that's for maintenance and operation costs. This agreement has been in place since about 2010. And then other parts of it is really, HD South preserving Gilbert's community history, providing some of the programming such as arts, history, culture, and then HD South also allowing the town to use their Neely community room. In terms of some of the contract requirements for HD South in the town, I probably won't go through all of those, but I wanted to, have these on here because council has seen HD South's presentation when they come to council every year. They're always, very prudent in turning in all their financial reports. They are in good standing across the board and have been a good partner. And with that, I'm actually going to call up Denise from HD South to discuss a little further.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate that. Mayor Peterson and members of the council, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to you regarding the HD South Building Communities for All Ages expansion project. This expansion project will solidify our standing as the cornerstone for history, art, culture, and public programming in our community. This is a rendering of the new expansion project that we are looking to do. It's going to be beautiful. It will mirror our existing facility. And our vision, mission, and values do center around enhancing our community's vibrancy while providing life-enriching collaboration for all residents. And we are determined to be the true catalyst for connection. Today we have a fantastic art gallery and we host an average of 4 exhibits per year. With an expanded display area, we can host many more exhibitions for local, regional, and national artists, as well as traveling exhibits from various museums. All of this will provide Gilbert residents with a greater opportunity to experience art and culture in their own backyard. On average, we get 8,000 visitors a year. 48% are Gilbert residents, 22% are visitors from other parts of Arizona, 28% are from other states, and about 2% of our visitors are from other countries. We have 35 local businesses with HD South memberships at the corporate level. Our public programs have continued to increase in quantity, scope, depth, and attendance. We are dedicated to bringing generations together to do life per the Communities for All Ages mission. An expansion would create additional sources of income to sustain our programs, along with providing an engaging space for the entire community. Ensuring our fantastic facilities are accessible to all is a vital part of this project. Along with that is also the ability to simply offer more of the wonderful programming we already host. Our programming is based on 6 pillars. They are art, history, literature, health and wellness, music, and science. The Gilbert Historical Museum is the only building in Gilbert listed on the National Register of Historic Places. With a larger facility and campus, more residents, students, and visitors can experience the uniqueness and specialty of our location. HD South is focused on ensuring Gilbert continues to be the thriving community that it is today, while preserving and celebrating over 100 years of community, history, and growth. Our expansion project will shape a new tomorrow today. Safeguarding the organization's vision and building a path for self-sustainability is our goal. There is also the dire need to preserve the existing museum building, along with the construction of a new building and courtyard for expanded programs, exhibits, and community event rental space. The town's population is expanding, and yet we lack a central hub for art and culture in Gilbert. New residents expect varied offerings and amenities, and we have an amazing opportunity to create a legacy based on our rich heritage. Included in this project is preservation of our existing building, including vital infrastructure, the construction of a single-story multi-purpose building, redesigning the courtyard, and creating a space that is accessible to all, and the creation of future innovative partnerships for art and culture programming. It is imperative that we maintain our sense of belonging and community pride, and lack of public space for community engagement is evident. A hub for art, culture, and history is vital to building that community engagement. We continuously strive to enhance arts and culture in our town, helping to expand our mission of being a community of excellence while driving economic development. Inducted into the Communities for All Ages in 2016, we are committed to promoting contributions which improve the quality of life for everyone by encouraging generational interdependence. No, there we go. Our community's cultural identity will be enhanced and preserved while allowing us the opportunity to reach even more individuals and families with our services and offerings. Having a vibrant center such as ours attracts businesses and residents alike. These are a few examples of some testimonials from prominent Gilbertonians that we are very proud of. A little bit more about our community support. To date, we have raised more than $1 million from our community on our own for this project through donations. And these are just a few of the multitude of community supporters which our organization is blessed to have, many of whom are in this room today. Although we are a private nonprofit organization, our programming and mission is really an extension of the town. It is Gilbert's history that we are preserving. We enhance arts and culture, which helps keep us a community of excellence and drives economic development. This next year is critical for our organization as we construct these new facilities and open them with new programming and a new revenue stream that will ensure our financial sustainability. The amazing members of the Capital Campaign Cabinet and the HD South Board of Directors have been stalwart supporters of this project long before my arrival and have been tremendous ambassadors for the organization. That concludes my presentation to you this evening, and I greatly appreciate your time.
Thank you, Denise.
You got it.
Robert, you're back up.
I'm back up. So we're at our second to last slide. And thank you, Denise, for the presentation. Right now, as I mentioned earlier, this is more of a high-level overview. Staff is really seeking direction from council on if they'd like us to enter additional discussions with HD South to explore possible ways to expand the assistance they receive right now. Obviously, those are often complex agreements, so we would explore those potential opportunities at HD South if council's interested in bringing those considerations back at a future meeting. And we'd both, either of us would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Robert. Any comments or questions? Councilmember Kaprowski?
I have a question about the overall project readiness. You've been doing the capital campaign and receiving donations from the public. What stage is the project in? When can it be implemented once it's funded?
Yes, thank you for that question, Councilmember Kaprowski. So we have been through the preliminary and planning process. We've gone through pre-submittal. The approved site and building review has been done with the redevelopment board. We do need to submit to the building department review, but that is 90% completed.
Denise, thanks for the presentation. How has supply chain affected you, if at all, because I know you haven't broken ground yet, or how has the inflation of the cost of goods and services impacted your project, your budget? Can you talk a little bit about that since you started this program or this idea? Maybe talk about when you started considering this and entertaining this, and then how has that evolved until now with the cost increases?
Right, absolutely. I'm happy to answer that. So the capital campaign started in 2017 with a goal to kick off the public phase in 2020. We did that, and 2 weeks later, the world shut down. So we definitely experienced some stalling in this project just because of the issues that we were experiencing as a nation and a world, quite frankly. We have now seen that there are definitely some supply chain issues. However, that is starting to subside. And construction costs did increase dramatically from what we had originally planned. We are confident with our partnership with our general contractor, who is Caliente Construction, that we will be able to come to a very equitable balance at the end of this project. So we did experience some issues, but we're ready to get back on track, start moving forward, and get this expansion project done. It's something that we're all very, very, very committed to.
Thank you. And I don't mean to press you because you may not have this, but do you have like a percentage of how much the project budget has had to increase from a percentage perspective based on the inflation that we're experiencing?
It doubled.
Okay, well, then you do have that statistic ready. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Anderson?
Thank you for being here, Denise. Have you given any consideration using the money that you have in the bank now to leverage that money and have something actually coming out of the ground so that it may attract more donors if they see progress on this?
Sure, and we have been in discussions with our general contractor about that. And we do realize that once we can, quote unquote, get sticks in the ground, that will definitely increase our visibility and the fact that this campaign is moving forward. We have been advised to not do that until we have funds raised, simply because with construction, the supply chain issues, the timing, we could be looking at extending our groundbreaking time while we're waiting for things to arrive or for subcontractors to do their construction part. So They strongly advise us to make sure that we have the funds secured to break ground prior to doing so.
Okay. I noticed in your presentation there was a sentence in there that talked about the closer relationship you have with the school district. Have we approached the school district about funds for this campaign?
In what capacity?
As a donor?
So we do have members of the school board and the Gilbert Public Schools employees that are donors of ours, yes.
Okay, great.
Councilmember Tilke?
First of all, hi, everybody, friends. I'm so happy to see you here, and I'm really excited that we're able to have a conversation with everybody here. I have quite a few questions. I've sent some of those to you, so you know what they are. I'm a little confused by the presentation, so if I miss something, Robert, please let me know, because I thought, I'm not sure what to ask of the council you're asking us tonight. I'm not sure if you're asking for support for the campaign to finish out the dollars that you need to get that going, or extending the contract, or maybe you're asking for both. So if I could get that clarified, that would help me to begin with.
Mayor Peterson, Councilmember Tilke, I think it's a little bit of both in the second one, looking at the capital campaign, but also I think you also take into account that $50,000 that's given annually, and looking at what those requests may be, and if council were interested, what type of partnerships there could be to make sure you have an equal value of what that assistance could provide versus what that partnership brings.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You need $3 million, is that right? And you've raised a little over $1 million. You said it doubled and you raised a little over $1 million. I'm just trying to get my numbers straight.
Right, so to break ground, we need about 2.5 million. We raised,
And you raised?
yeah, and we've raised almost 1.6.
Okay, so you,
1.3 has come from the community, the rest has been in grants.
okay, so it's $900, $1 million is what you need to
Correct.
finish the project.
Correct.
And it's my understanding that you've met with staff and they've talked about the gift clause and how we're not able to just give money. So we have to come up with how we could donate money, right? And so there's, well, my questions, they talk about all of those things that we need to look at. So I don't know if we're supposed to ask all those questions now, or I don't know what kind of direction to give at this point. I just want to make sure I'm not going too deep in the weeds.
Yeah, and Mayor Peterson, Councilmember Tilke, I think those are all excellent questions that will definitely be a part of the process. I think with any sort of conversation like this, we usually have sort of a matrix of sorts that we work through on what those partnership agreements would be, what those deal points would be. Okay. But we didn't want to get too far down the road or start those conversations with at least coming to council first and asking, would council like us to continue those conversations or at least explore them deeper?
Okay.
And then if so, we would definitely come back with a lot of those excellent questions, knowing that there's a few out there to be able to better answer them at a later date, you know, as we come back with more considerations.
So, and it wasn't in my question, so that's why I'm going to mention this. I know that in the past, when we've had projects that we feel are beneficial for economic development, that there are times that we can look at waiving some of the permitting fees that has a dollar value. So I'm trying to tie this to, is this an economic development project? Is it a tourism project where we can find funds? Is it a Parks and Rec project? And so that kind of information is important to me because we need to understand where that funding would come from. And is HD South willing to look at waiving some fees in lieu of actual cash, which saves you money? The downside of that is the system development fees, we can't, well, we can tell you we waive them, but that means we have to take them from an account. We have to pay them. If you don't pay them, we have to pay them. So those are some areas I think we could look at, but I think what's key to me is, from a town perspective and a finance perspective, what pot of money is this coming from? Is it a Parks and Rec? Is it tourism? You know, what? So as these discussions move forward, I think that that would be important to best understand that. I was just going to see if there was something else. Maybe that's it for now. Maybe when somebody else asks a question, I'll have more, or when we have conversations, I'll have an opportunity.
I was going to say that I probably have some similar questions and concerns that you have, but when I saw the presentation that says this is just the beginning, that they will be doing some negotiating and see where we go from here, I'm good with that, to start answering some of those questions and how we negotiate.
Great. Well, I just think it's important that we at least share the topic points that are important to us to look at. And so you have my questions. There was a list of them, so I appreciate that. Will be part of it. Thank you.
Councilmember Toki, thank you for those questions. That's very helpful, you know, as we look at potentially continuing those.
Did you have something else, Councilmember September?
Yeah, Mayor. So as far as providing direction, if you're seeking direction from council on next steps, I would like to see some more dialogue and a little deeper exploration into what kind of value the town would get if the town were to invest in this project, and what that looks like specifically, put some numbers behind that. And then, you know, I don't know if it's a public-private partnership. I know you've been very creative in the past, Rob, so anything that you guys can come up with, I'm interested in seeing what your great minds can produce.
Yeah, I agree with some of the comments that were made earlier in terms of it's important that that the benefit is a direct benefit and measurable, because we have to follow certain guidelines and boundaries and laws. But I think that it's really great to be able to be a partner with HD South, especially with the connection of the heritage and everything like that. I also wanted to point out that when I was looking at the property for HD South, there's a lot of areas that have public access, like the sidewalks and the transit shelter and landscaping that is actually within the HD South property, and maybe that would be worth looking at a little bit closer as well to determine if that would be needed for any improvements to the intersection or roadway, whatnot, so that could be a direct benefit as part of that exploration. But I am in support as well of kind of taking the next step of looking at what are the options for partnership.
Are you saying potential purchasing of the right-of-way for items that the town might need in the future?
Correct. And currently, like all the current infrastructure is not in town right-of-way at the moment.
Yes, it's one of those nice corners in Gilbert that has no public right-of-way on it. Any other comments or questions? I appreciate the conversation tonight. Sorry, Vice Mayor.
Oh, just maybe I missed it because I'm sorry, it was a couple minutes late, but timeline, was there a goal for the museum when you would want to have something like this solidified?
And, you know, Mayor Peterson, Vice Mayor Yentes, I think with tonight, if we do get the go-ahead to start negotiations, I think it would probably be a little dependent on how quickly, you know, those move, and, you know, how quickly we're able to differentiate that value versus, you know, a given cost. So I know, I'm guessing Denise would probably tell you right away with HD South. We've had that discussion, and I'm sure the section behind me, but I think we'd be prudent in having those, you know, appropriate conversations and making sure we could go through the steps as we normally would with any sort of partnership agreement, which, you know, I wouldn't give a specific timeline to, but something that we would start right away.
And my only thought is just because this council will look substantially different in the new year, so taking into account, you know, what those individuals' goals and opinions are.
Great point. Thank you. Did you have another comment, Councilmember Anderson?
This is like old home week, seeing Alan Fitzgerald and Wally Delecki back.
Wally Delecki. I know. So I think I've heard that there's a consensus to move forward and to hear what the options would be that you could bring forward to us. The gift clause is obviously the top factor that we would need to consider, and I know that Elena put together a great presentation on what other cities and towns do for their museums and their arts and culture programs within their communities, and those are all in existence, so we can't match what they're doing currently under the current laws that we have now in the state of Arizona that we need to be very conscious of. But I agree that HD South is a gem in our community, and to see your faces here, Wally Dalecki there in the back, that I have to put my glasses on. I always know it's you, Wally Dalecki, Alan Fitzgerald, Dale Lunt, Cindy Nelson, Adelaida Severson, Deb Carr. For you to come down this evening to listen to the presentation is very much appreciated, but I feel in a time in this country when we're culturally trending to remove our history, that preserving our history is even more important than ever. And every time someone asks me if there's some place that they can donate in Gilbert, HD South is always my first answer. And I'm always trying to help, but I toured the museum, just kind of an informal tour. I was there to help present a check, and their ceilings are being held up with ladders and boxes at the moment because of a leak that they had inside. And so the funds that they do have coming in are having to go directly to some of those things at the moment, and not able to go to this campaign to be able to fund what we would really love to see for this gem in the community. And they're constantly bringing in different programs. I stopped by a week ago Saturday for a car show in the parking lot, while Councilmember Kaprowski's kids were inside at a class making insects. Making insects, right?
Yes,
Yes.
and they got to talk to an entomologist, and I could not drag them out of there. They loved it so much.
But it was such a fun class, and I think that just goes to show the abilities that the programs have here at this location. And so I would be very interested in seeing what can be presented to us in the future, and if there's a way that the town can join in a partnership. I have no idea if that's possible or if we'll have the votes, but I definitely think it's worth exploring the conversation. Thank you.
Mayor and council, thank you very much for the feedback this evening.
Mayor, if I could ask one thing. One thing that will help expedite the conversations with HD South, if each one of you could email us what your questions are, so we make sure we've got an inclusive list for conversation purposes with them, that would probably be very helpful. Okay.
Is everybody comfortable with that? Great, thank you. Well, thank you, Robert. Thank you, Denise. Thanks, team, for being out here. That is the only item on our study session agenda this evening, so I will adjourn the study session.